Hey guys, Mike here with things you might like, coming back with my follow-up ReShade video. If you didn't see my first one, it's just a quick install for ReShade, and in this video I'm going to dive deeper into ReShade with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the settings that I like to use, and some misconceptions with ReShade that I think some people have, and some things to look out for. So let's jump right into it. So as you can see, I've got the game open, and I think when people think of ReShade, they think of this oversaturated garbage. They think of something like this, which personally I agree with you. Now, ReShade, the entire point of it is to make a very subjective experience. It's so you can tailor games to look how you want them to look, and some people like this. Some people like super oversaturation, crazy sharpness, and this is how they want to play. And if they want to, that's fine. But I don't like this. If we go back to the regular, I like more of this look, just a little bit clearer, just a little bit better colors, and so this is what I play with. And one thing to notice is that when people go for the oversaturated look, the heavy sharpness, we go back to regular, look at my FPS counter in the top left corner. This is my ReShade, okay, still floating about the same, and then this is what other people generally like to do. You see that drop? Now we're pushing well over 100 FPS, but in-game, as you know, Battlegrounds is not optimized very well at all. This can take a huge hit. It can be the difference between going from 65 FPS down to 55, and you start getting screen tearing and other issues. So let's go back, and I'm going to show you how I get to this right here, a nice, subtle, clean look. So we're going to jump right into the ReShade console by hitting Shift F2. Now, I have a bunch of extra ones downloaded just so I could play around with them, like cartoons, kind of fun, night vision. But let me show you what I have. I have all the ones I use are bound to F3. I'm going to go through these guys and show you within each one how to fine-tune it a little bit further past the default so you can get it to work for you. Now, adaptive sharpen is what a lot of people think they're going to like, because you can see in this wood back here, it really makes things really detailed, and you can adjust it so that it's not crazy sharp. You know, you don't have to do anything like this. It can be more subtle like this, and if we click it on and off, you can tell there's just a subtle difference. Now, I don't like adaptive sharpen because generally it takes a pretty hard hit on your system, and so I'm actually not going to use that one anymore. The one I like to use is clarity. If I turn it on, you can see it helps with the sharpness with the shadows. It gets a little bit lighter in the shadows. You can see the grain in the wood back here just become a little bit clearer. And so that's the one that I like to use, and it doesn't take a hit on the system. So I like using clarity when it comes to just making things stand out a little bit better. The one that makes people think of the oversaturation is this colorfulness. If I click on this guy, let me turn off clarity. That's what people think of when they think of ReShade. Just this horrible, nasty, oversaturated garbage. And I generally don't use it. You can just go in and fine tune it, but I found one that I like better, and that's in Vibrance. So I just leave colorfulness off. So we'll get that out of the way. High Pass Sharpen is another one that you can use to help sharpen the image. I generally don't use it. I find I get what I need out of other options. So leave that off. But as we go through this, I invite you to fiddle around with it. See what works for you. Really fine tune it, because again, if I can reiterate, this is so you can get that subjective experience. You can get it to where you want it to look. And that's the whole point of this. I know a ton of people are going to bash on it, and that's fine. If they don't want to use it, good for them. They don't have to use it. But those who want just to change the colors, because Battlegrounds is pretty muted, and it would be nice to just have the grass and trees pop a little bit. Okay, so go on to Luma Sharpen. Luma Sharpen helps with that clarity, or not the clarity, but the sharpness quite a bit. Again, if I can draw your attention to the wood grain, it's just that subtle off on, just that subtle difference, and we're not taking an FPS hit. So this is the one that I like to use, and this is just the default setting. I haven't changed anything. I also have my anti-aliasing up all the way. You can see some granularity in her hair right here, but generally as you're playing, that's not a huge deal, and I just like the tiny bit of extra sharpness that it brings in the game. So I will turn that off now. And one thing to note, whenever we put on these sharpness, if you have it on for a while, this is where I was sold on ReShade. At least with this game. You have it on for a while, you're playing the game, okay, you decide you don't like it. When you turn it off, it feels fuzzy. Like, the game just feels fuzzy. And so that's what really drove me to go the ReShade route as a regular option when I play, because it's just hard to play without it now because everything looks so fuzzy in the game. Maybe they should add a sharpness slider in game so you can fine tune that yourself. In fact, that would be really nice. Just a sharpness and a color slider, like a saturation slider, and I think that'd be great. But in the meantime, I'll just use this. Adaptive Fog I downloaded to see if it would help at all with the fog in game on the fog maps. It did not, so we can ignore that one. Curves is going to help with the contrast, and this is one I stumbled upon myself when I was playing around with these, and that's again why I encourage you to play around with these, see what you like. Check out over her head back here. In fact, let me move this to this side. Check these darker scenes and watch what happens when I click my settings on curves. You see they lighten up just a little bit. That's because I went negative on the contrast right here. This is normal, and I have it about 2. I mean, you can keep going and really lighten up those dark areas, but I don't like how it washes out my character, so I like to keep a little bit of the aesthetics so that, you know, it doesn't look miserable as I play. So I like a negative 0.2. I think it's just a nice balance to help bring up those darks. Alright, FXAA, I feel like it doesn't make a huge difference. I just tried it out to see if it would help, and not enough for me to really pay attention. And when it stacks on the other ones, it tends to take a hit with your FPS. And then I'm not going to do cartoon night vision. So I use curves, vibrance, luma sharpen, and clarity for my key binding. And I have it bound to F3. So I'm going to close this down. You can see again what I work with. Just a little bit more color. You can see down here in the greens and the blues and the pinks in her face, just a little bit more color. And now F4 is all those crazy ones. That's this guy. And I don't like that. But there is something to be said that when I turn this off, it feels fuzzier. And you know, there's something to be said about that, because I don't feel like a game should be fuzzy. Alright, so this is what I play with. This is the game naturally. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it on, my settings. I'm going to jump into a game, kind of leave it for just a quick second, and then I'm going to turn it off. And I want you to form your own opinion if once it's off, if you liked it better and you want me to turn it back on, or if you prefer having it off. So I'm going to jump right into a game and leave these settings on. And yeah, I really want you to just kind of get a feel for it, because like I said, that's where I figured it out. I was playing, and then when I shut it off, I was like, ooh, that's rough. I don't know if I want to go back to that. So I'm just running around. You can see, I don't think those are crazy saturated. I mean, they're pretty green. It's a video game. That's fine. But it's not like, you know, this nastiness. It's not where everything's just, oh, that's rough. I feel like this is about how the game should look. So I've run around for a little bit and look up there, look at the trees and the leaves. I'm going to turn it off and tell me what you think. Does it feel overly muted to you? I'm going to turn it back on. See, I feel like the clarity, especially in the characters right there in the middle, there's just a little bit more, which is what I like. Yeah, my FPS is taking a hit trying to record this video if you're watching that in the top corner. So flying over in the plane, even though it's raining, the ground looks really green. Now I'm going to turn it off. And yeah, just to me, it just looks very muted. Like there's, I don't know, like a translucent sheet over the game. So I like just that little bit, not oversaturated like this, yikes, but just a little bit. See, I think that looks nice. And lastly, I'll just drop in, and then we can kind of look at more of the textures up close. Let's see if I can drop somewhere that doesn't have too much traffic. Drop right down on these houses right here, and then we'll look out at the trees. And so right now I have it on in case you've forgotten, and hopefully you have. Hopefully just by watching it you've gotten used to what it looks like, because I think you're not doing it right if you can always tell that it's on. You want it to just be a nice, subtle experience that just slightly enhances your gameplay. And let's drop down right here. Alright, so we've got some browns and some greens. Look at the blades of the grass. And my settings are generally on low. I only keep the viewing distance on high, and I keep the anti-aliasing, or ultra actually. I keep anti-aliasing on ultra. So look at the blades of the grass, the yellow house. It's on, and now it's off. Does it look fuzzy to you? Does it look super muted? Maybe you like this, and that's great. That's awesome. You don't have to do this, but personally I like just that little bit of color, and greens might actually be too much, so I might go back and change that. But at least it's not that, which is what, ugh, that's just rough. But even going from that back to normal, everything looks so fuzzy. So I'm gonna go to my settings, just a little bit of clarity, a little bit of color, and this is how I'm gonna play. So let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. Like I said, I know this isn't gonna be for everyone, and that's great. If you like ReShade, tell me what you like about it. I'd love to hear about your settings, and if you have anything you think I could improve on with my settings, please let me know. I would love to fine-tune this a little bit further in any direction is great. If you like this video, be sure to drop it a like. I really appreciate when you guys do that. And subscribe for more videos. I have a lot of content that I like to put out, and when I get more subscribers, it lets me know what kind of stuff you like to see. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. This is Mike with Things You Might Like, and I will see you with my next cool thing. Boom. I'm still alive. I'm alive.